Today's guest is Joseph M. Leonard, also known as J. Leonard Detroit, a lifelong Michigan native who's worn many hats over the years. A former IT professional turned best-selling author, Joseph has become a powerful voice in political commentary, historical fiction, and publishing mentorship. He's the author of several internationally released books, including the #1 Amazon bestseller, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, The Writer's Guide, How to Write a Book and Get It Published, and Christitutionalist Politics, which also inspired his podcast of the same name. A cancer survivor, blogger, speaker, and social media influencer, Joseph is passionate about helping others bring their stories to life and navigating the complex world of politics and publishing. His most recent release, The Book of Kennedy, available in hardcover, audiobook, and ebook, continues to expand his impact as a storyteller and thought leader. Hey, how's it going, Joseph?
I always say, and I often have my characters say, could be better, could be worse.
I think that's the world, man, you know.
Hey, before we get too far, I got to ask you, how's Brooks doing?
He is upset and kind of jealous of my voice. So we split up and I became a podcaster, and I believe he's singing in local honky tonks.
Oh. And the other thing is, I've got to say, I've got a new opening for your show. Hello, I'm Donald Dunn, and I'm done with you all. Ba-dum-bum.
Yep, there you go, man. Well, why don't you give me a little bit of background, man? How did all this start?
Well, born and raised in southern suburbs of Detroit. I don't like the winters here, but I choose to stay, right? Growing, my dad and my dad's dad both had polka bands. My dad had a 3-record deal with Don Ho Productions. So I wrote and recorded music in my youth through the 70s and 80s, but unlike today, where anyone can record and put their songs up for 99-cent downloads online, I didn't get a record deal, so I just kept writing books. I was in IT, though, as you had mentioned, was my main gig. I still wrote. And then in 2001, I had a whole host of health issues happen. So I've been on disability since 2004, which then now my hobby, I still consider it a hobby to write. I'm certainly not a Rowlings or a Patterson or a Clancy, right? It's still a hobby, but I'm now able to take the writings I've done my whole life and start doing them internationally, because publishing has gotten a lot easier too since the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Unfortunately, the marketing and the reach has not gotten as easy as the rest of that. Well, yeah, social media, of course. I'm gonna grab. You showed, right, how to write a book and get it published. Hits, tips, and techniques. There it is on my reverse screen, right? Yep. On there, social media, right? Yep. Why, if you're an author, you need to be on virtually all of them. I'm on 15 plus social media platforms. Why would you not be on a free platform to promote your work? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is not easy to manage them. That is for sure. But you're absolutely right. You know, if you're a podcaster or a musician or whatever, you know, you have to utilize every free source that you can. Yep.
you're not gonna be able to afford the high price marketing that some of these bigger agencies do. So yeah, I get it. And you are right. I wrote a couple books myself, and at the end of the day, if you break even, doing it, you did very well. So
I go into how to write a book and get it published, hits, tips, and techniques. If you think, oh, I'm going to overnight be a millionaire like J.K. Rowling, forget it. That's the wrong motivation.
Yeah, I say the exact
I
same
hope
thing.
it happens for you. It hasn't happened for me. I hope it happens for you. But if that's your thinking, oh, this is a get rich quick scheme, wrong answer. Thank
Yep.
you for playing. Goodbye.
Yeah, and people with podcasting feel the same way. They think they're gonna post a couple videos, and next thing you know, they're Joe Rogan.
I also have Podcasting Quick Start Guide for that very reason. Exactly. If you think you're going to be the next Joe Rogan, wrong motivations, and you're going to get rich, wrong motivations. But yeah, start off slow. Start off with a limited budget, and then grow over time. And if you go viral, then you can dump 10, 20, 30,000 into a elaborate studio.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to dive into a little bit about some of your books, and I know it's not your newest one, but one of them that caught my name was a terrorist attack coming to a city next.
No, my terror strikes coming soon to a city. I thought you were interested in the E.T. book.
I'm gonna get in that one too.
Okay, yeah. Yep. And I only have a piece of paper for that because it's only an e-book. But Terror Strikes is both e-book and this is a traditional historical fiction, or as I call it, aka faction, full novel, about 286 pages. So yes, that's and most of my books come to me in a dream. Terror Strikes did, the Book of Kennedy, Project Carpe Diem did, the really weird E.T. story did. So
well, I think a lot of stuff like that does come from interests that you have. If you're into politics, I've seen some writers that have came up with some really cool stories. I had a guest on here that wrote one about if George Washington was alive today and you could run for a third term. So his story is based off of George Washington running against Donald Trump.
Interesting. Very. There's the Burns Christian Family Studios is here in Michigan, and they've got. I was theater captain for behind or beyond. I think it's Beyond the Mask, and it's a historical fiction movie based on our revolutionary times and the plot to kill Washington. But yeah, my understanding, you said you don't want to talk a lot of politics, so I won't do that. But yeah, my nonfiction Christitutionalist politics series, of which there are now 4 out, is our Judeo-Christian foundations, and education is so horrible. To educate people,
Yeah, no, you are right, and I mean, it is almost impossible to have conversations without any kind of politics because it's so interwebbed anymore. We can't even talk UFOs without talking government as well because it's all so wrapped up together. So kind of break down what is Terror Strikes about?
Yeah. It's kind of an oxymoron title.
Okay.
Indeed, terrorism is the theme that holds it all together. But in the 286-ish or whatever pages, 250 of or so is the story. There's also bonus material, links to online things that can take you further deep dives into some of the things in the book. But I like to say it's not about death and destruction. Terrorism is there because Martin, the lead, a Detroit newspaper man, decides he is going to write a book about terrorism. So that gives me an excuse to provide some history as well as fiction, aka faction, as I said, I call it, right? So that holds it all together, but it's really about him, you know, life and living, faith over despair, you know, family, love over hate.
Yeah.
Hope over fear, those sorts of things. The terrorism ties it beginning to end, but it's about way more than that. The morals of the story aren't really about the terrorism.
Right. And you know, I find that interesting because a lot of people misunderstand the purpose of a terrorist attack. You know, the terrorist attack itself is not the main focus. Yes, they want to be elaborate and make a point and get noticed, but that's what ties into it. It's a mental attack is what it's for. It is
terrorism. It is to engage in and terrorize you, to try to shape. They want to manipulate you. They want to mold your behavior. And indeed, the Naperville, Illinois chapter discusses Teresa, who has a child, Cammie, and she realizes she's more ostrich than the mama bear she needed to be in regard to that or general crime. All right, general crime or terrorism, why the subtitle coming soon to a city, can happen anywhere. And I don't want people paranoid. I'm not trying to sell fear porn. I'm just trying to sell a modicum of situational awareness. Be aware crime of any kind, terrorism or not, can be around a corner, and you at least entertain the notion that it could happen. So you, when it happens, if it happens, because bad things happen to good people at times, that you resolve now to be a thinker, not a sheeple panicker. Right? Because it's the sheeple panic, like the Ariana Grande event in New York years back. More people were hurt in the cascade of people trying to rush out of the arena than the event that happened inside. I have a beforeitsnews.com article, fight, flight, or there's a third option, fade. If you're in an arena where something is happening at the other end of the arena, trying fight or flight, well, if you're not trained to fight and be prepared to fight, that's not your option. Flight can be a bad option because, again, you're caught in the stampede. And if it's a shooter or they have IEDs planted elsewhere, you could be heading into more danger trying to run away. Fading behind a seat and making yourself small so you're not part of the easy targets running away may be your better option. I want you in the fractions of a second to be able to think what really is right. Flight, the nearest exit, might be your only best option if you're close to what's going on, if you can't fight and if you choose not to fade. But again, hiding behind a seat and making yourself small, the shiny object targets are all those running away, right?
Yeah.
You think they want to try to shoot the one person who they may not get a good bead on, or shoot into a crowd where they're going to hit somebody, potentially 2 or 3 people, by the bullet ricocheting on.
Yep.
So,
yeah, you are absolutely right, and a lot of that comes from adrenaline, and I'm currently working on a project to help train veterans on how to control those items and help reduce the damage from PTSD by preparing and making you think through your fight and flight instincts versus
or now
letting
fade.
Yep.
Fight, flight, or fade.
Yep. Versus allowing your adrenaline to take over, because now everything becomes instinctive. There is no thought process at that point. And so you are absolutely right. Let's dig into your podcast just a little bit. So what inspired the podcast?
Well, actually, you got it backwards in the intro.
Okay.
The podcast inspired the books rather than the other way around, but minor detail. Right? Being on disability and therefore I can't get out like I used to. Right. I don't have the energy for it. I don't have the money for it, being on disability. So I used to be speaker at many events and whatnot, or if not a speaker, attending many events or a rally or a candidate function. I can't do that. I have to do what I can from behind this keyboard, hence the books. And then I thought, okay, well, why not a podcast? I was already co-hosting as part of Savage Unfiltered show. So why not do my own show, right?
Yeah. What is it that you found challenging about bringing the podcast to life?
Well, it wasn't too much of a challenge for me because, again, I was already co-hosting. So and for years, being involved in politics, I was always on Wham Radio out of Ann Arbor here in Michigan, home of the Michigan Wolverines. Wham Radio is a conservative station. I've had always been on either as a guest or as a caller and whatnot. So, I already had the wherewithal of how to put a show together and how to do a show and, avoiding dead air.
Yep. Yeah.
And all that stuff. So I go into that a little in Podcasting Quick Start Guide, right? Just if you want to try it, I explain how to start small scale with what you've got and then build from there, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't know necessarily if you've got the stuff. If you can overcome the bad habit of and I have an ongoing running gag on my Christitutionalist politics show now. I just shortened it to Christitutionalist now. It's kind of redundant. Constitutionalist being U.S. Constitution. So politics was almost a redundant word in there. So Christitutionalist podcast. Where was I going with that?
Well, I can tell you, the one thing that fascinates me, right? And I don't. Go ahead.
Running gag. Yeah. I've gotten better with the ahs and the ums, but I have a running gag as kind of a segue thing. I say, at any rate, that's a verbal crutch too, but I keep it going as a running gag now, kind of wink, nod, everybody, you get the inside joke or you don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, you're good. The reason why I brought it up and it kind of ties into your show I find it fascinating, right? Because podcasting is very diverse, right? And it usually starts from somebody who's very passionate about something. And I take it a little bit step further, and I like to have people like yourself on the show to document their story, and who knows, you may say something that influences a government decision 30 years from now from seeing this show. And the cool thing that they're going to have is the fact that they can see what things affected the people, what things of the country was going through, and see it through our eyes as individuals versus being directed from a media source to see what they want you to see. And I think it's really cool because can you imagine how different our country would be today if George Washington, Ben Franklin, and all those people during the writing of our Constitution had done it on a podcast, that we could go back and see what their thought process was.
We have not a podcast, but we have the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers that a lot of people don't know about. And again, why I've got an ongoing book series on our foundations that people never learned and argue, well, the Constitution was meant to be as verbiage short as possible, right? For lack of better, but you've got the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist Papers. You've got Plubius's writings. You've got Benjamin Franklin's Silence Do Good publications. You can go back and read and understand. Well, did they really mean what it says? Well, yeah, that's why it says what it says.
Yeah.
And there's other things that back it up. And people, because we have no history or civics classes anymore, don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, there's people today that don't understand what 9/11 was. And it's because they weren't born during that time period.
Yeah.
And nobody researches anything anymore. They watch a 3-second TikTok and they make their decision off of it. But
yeah,
you know,
and the reason I'm looking around, in fact, I'm trying to find it. There it is. Federalism, season 3, episode 126, which is slated to air November the 15th. Right? Part of the history. People, federalism. It sounds like, it means a big federal government. No, it's an oxymoron. It means the exact opposite. It means a small, like our Constitution is supposed to limit, a small, loose federal government. The states are sovereign and created the federal government, not the other way around. So I've talked about it in my book. I had to talk about it on my show on November 15th. That episode is coming up on that to explain that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, being military, I served all over the place. And you would be surprised of how many countries you go to that know more about our history than we do in our country. And it's really embarrassing when somebody can say, well, I thought it happened this way, and they're right and you're wrong and you're from America. I don't even know that there's kids out there today that could name all the capitals anymore. I remember as a child having to learn that.
Yeah. I don't remember them all.
I don't either anymore.
Right. But we at least did learn it one time.
Right. Yeah.
It's your point. Yes.
Yeah. But it's not taught no more in the world. And maybe it's not knowledge that you'll ever need to make a living or anything like that, just because you know the capitals. But it goes back to knowing your history.
Right. Even know all the 50 states. And I'd be hard pressed to name. I could over time, all right, what number am I at to? Who have I forgotten? Because I haven't been to every state. I've been to about half of them. I've always
I think I lost you. You there?
Suck Winslow 11. Hey, I think macro suck Winslow 11 on my side went wonky again. So
I thought
me.
I was worried. I thought maybe the government attacked you or something. I was like,
well,
they took him, man. They took him.
I'm under NSA watch, no doubt. So yeah, but as I was saying, I always wanted to go on a Hawaii and Alaska cruise. Even, I was married at the time. In IT had a good salary, didn't have the time to be able, I had the money to do it, didn't have the time to do it. Now I've got the time to do it. I don't got the money to do it, but I've been to maybe half of the states. So I'd be hard pressed even remembering all the states, let alone the capital names, but I'm at least aware, as we were saying, I knew them before. Kids now, I don't know that they're even taught all of them. And that, again, civics, we are state sovereign, 10th Amendment. That's why I'm for the repeal of the 17th Amendment. The Senate is meant to be the state's body. The House is direct elected representatives, never meant to be that way in the U.S. Senate. And that was one more destruction of the checks and balances of the brilliance of our founders.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we as a people put ourselves in this category, and you look at the way social media and everything else that has taken and made us to the point where we can get information now, and it comes so fast and so much that nobody even uses it anymore.
You can also get false information. As an
100%.
IT guy, in CTP2 book, there's a quote. Oh, the green screen's going to act up now. But in CTP2, there's a quotations chapter, mainly famous quotes from famous people, but there are a couple Joe originals. And as a IT guy, I say, never before in the course of human history have people had access to information, either factual or delusional confirmation bias.
Yep. Yeah, you had to wait for a newspaper that came out, and back then, now you're talking weeks that the news is backdated.
Yeah, or getting information from a book.
Yeah.
Years later, right? You remember the Funkin' Wagnalls?
I do not.
They were they were like Britannica encyclopedias, right? I had those growing up, the Funk and Wagnalls. And every year you'd get an updated volume, right?
Yeah.
Which was immediately old when you got it.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Well, let me ask you this, right? And I do agree with you on one aspect. I'm sure we agree on this point that the government is way too big, right? And when you talk about the things that is happening with these UFO and UAP conferences and hearings that's happening, do you honestly believe that the people that are even having these talks believe in any of this, or is this just a check the block to make the people happy?
I don't know. And that brings in the "Is ET really here?" a really short story that I just released is 99 cents. Hard to get anything for a the dollar stores are all going to be changing their name soon.
Yeah.
Dollar won't be in the word, discount will be in there because they keep shrinking things, but there's next to nothing you're going to get for $1. So that, like growing up in the 60s and 70s, we had the 5 and dime stores. In the 80s, those all evaporated because you couldn't get anything for a dime anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know where I stand, really. I at I'm on the fence. I see things that I consider evidence that there exist and they're here. And as a Christian, and in one of my Christitutionalist books, and in this short story, I go into fellow Christians. Genesis does not say, and God created life on earth, and only earth created life he. It doesn't say that. In
Right.
fact, it says the opposite. The Nephilim are mentioned. Not humanoid, but non-human. David and Goliath probably killed one of the last of the Nephilim. What about Enoch and Ezekiel? So, what about angels, right? The three major faiths, and I don't mean to be belittling or demeaning or anything to other faiths, but the three major based on the size of membership, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all believe in messengers and angels.
Yep.
Angels existed at both physical and spiritual. So, but they were at the right hand of God when God created Earth.
Yep.
So by definition, they are extraterrestrial. And that's not to say they're the same as a gray or a reptilian or a birdman or an ant-man or any of the other supposed other beings. And also, are they all interstellar? Are they interdimensional? Or, as I coined, interdimensional?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I do believe there's other life sources out there. And one of the reasons I had a median on my show, and she had talked about how she has traveled to heaven, and it's not what people think. It's not this glorious place. She said it's dimensions. She said where she's been to is the fifth dimension, which is the very, very beginning, the very bottom, and she said there's one person there that helps her. And I asked her, I said, well, let me ask you this then. If heaven is dimensional, right? And you're telling me there is a God, is there anything other than humans? And she said, yes. She said the person that helps her is not a human, it's from another dimension that is in heaven. She said, everybody goes to heaven. She said, I've never talked to anybody that went to hell. And she said, and I have talked to some very bad people, some murderers, some, pedophiles and all that. She said, but it doesn't mean you go to the best part of heaven. You may
Dante's Inferno. I again, as a Christian, hubris is the sin, not pride, right? I should be proud of little Sally getting all A's.
Yep.
Right. I should be proud of little Johnny hitting the walk-off home run at Little League. It's hubris to walk into work and say, I'm the only person in this corporation that could solve these problems, that's hubris, right? That's the sin. I don't have that. Frankly, far too many fellow Christians do. God doesn't owe us all the answers, but yet some think God owes them answers. He doesn't owe you anything beyond what he decides to tell you. He wants to tell you, feels we need to know, right? So there's a lot of great movies. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull dealing in interdimensionalism. Constantine, the Keanu Reeves movie, I love that, where hell is indeed a dimensional layer under the world we live in. There are all kinds of the Robin Williams one, What Dreams May Come, right? So there's interstellar, there's interdimensional, and there's also, as I coined, interdimensional. It's suggested perhaps the grays are us from 100,000 years in the future, because Einstein said time travel is theoretically possible. We can't
Yeah.
do it, but it doesn't mean us in the future can't do it.
Well, you know, and even Joe Rogan talks about stuff like that. He has talked about how the human anatomy is changing already. You know,
Micro versus macro evolution.
right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and so you know, it is possible that down the road that we become, you know, different, adapted somehow. We have already once. You know, we're not like we were 100,000 years ago. You know, but
We're not like we were even at the time of Christ.
right.
We are taller,
Yep.
right? But part of that has to do with our technological abilities now to grow more food.
Yeah.
Everyone eats and drinks better, right?
Yep.
Like back in the 1700s, children drank beer. Well, why? The beer now isn't like the beer then.
Yeah.
The water was bad. They didn't fully understand bacteria and all that stuff, but they knew there was good water and bad water, and that you had to process the water in some way to purify it to not get sick. They didn't understanding bacterial infection and all that stuff versus viral infection, but they knew enough that they had to purify it, and that's why everybody drank beer or liquor back then. It was or wine. It is processed and cleaner and safer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense, especially you know it with the way it had to be processed to turn it into alcohol, you know, and then the alcohol itself is going to kill bacteria and everything as
They
well.
didn't fully know and understand all that, but they knew it helped.
Yeah, 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 and I do believe you know you was talking about God you know owes us the answers and
God
so forth.
does not owe
Right,
us.
right.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know my thoughts is if you were one of those people that do feel that God owes you the answers, you should ask yourself, what thought has he given us that we haven't destroyed? You know, almost every invention that we had made, the internet is a prime example. The internet could have been a great tool. Instead, it has been used for corruptness and porn and all these other things that it should not have been designed for. And AI is coming. You know, I think AI is a great tool. We'll screw it up. I promise you it
We
will.
already have. We
Yeah.
already have. As a
Yeah.
former IT guy, I've known of it coming for a long time. I see the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of ugly in it.
Yeah.
Indeed. But that's not God's problem or
Right.
fault. That's human nature. We are given free will.
Yeah.
And some choose their free will for evil.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah, for their own selfish hubris, desires, and wants, and to hell with everybody. I wrote a piece on Before It's News just the other day about, and in fact, in I think it's in CTP3, if I can, Mark chapter 21 in CTP3. Oh, the green screen's not showing it. Mark of the Beast, right? Yep. I was at A&W to get a Coney and a root beer the other day, and I had forgotten that I didn't go to the ATM the night before. I had 2 singles in my wallet, so I had to dig out a credit card and charge a $6 lunch. Yeah. So now I'm going to, pay interest on a dumb. But it made me stop and think how great and wonderful if we lived in an honest world.
Yeah.
You know, a barcode, a cashless society could be. But we don't live in an honest world. We live in a fallen world. And what would be a great convenience for you and I means that evil SOB uses for power and control. And if Donald Dunn doesn't toe the line that those in power want Donald Dunn to, hence the mark of the beast warning, your ability to buy and sell gets shut off. And you're starving to death because you can't get any food.
Yeah. I mean, that plan would backfire dramatically for them, because I do know how to hunt and take care of myself. But
yeah,
you know
what I mean, though. The average person would, who doesn't understand who's married to the phone, doesn't understand the concept of being off the grid, let alone being able to hunt or plant a garden to grow their own vegetables. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But what I was getting at was, if I gave my son $5 a week, right, and every week I watched him rip it up, he has that right to do it. That's free will, right? But I also have the right to decide not to keep giving him $5.
Exactly. And the Bible makes the distinction between we are to want to be that's the difference. And why I have the series, why I have the biblical community, free will, freedom. We are to want to be our brother's keeper and help widows and orphans from our own blood and treasure, not Steve stealing it from Eve to give to Dave across the street, who Dave refuses to help himself. The Bible makes the distinction between those unwilling and those who are I'm on disability. I'm unable, not unwilling. I'm owed my disability because I worked for it and built up. If something happens, I get it. Versus worldly communism, theft, redistribution, helping those. That's why Jesus said, the poor will always be among you. He was not making an economic statement or a governance statement. He was making a human nature statement.
Right.
Atlas Shrugged. There will always be some who will do the bare minimum to get by, especially if the sucker over there will keep giving them stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and we've seen it. All businesses seen it with through COVID. And after COVID was over with, the struggle to get people to come back to work was just insane.
If the government's going to keep paying me to sit on my butt and play video games, the weak who don't understand, also biblical, work shall set you free. Now, the Nazis, slavery, which the Nazis employed, even though putting work sets you free above the concentration camps, warped the biblical truth. Work does set you free because then you earn what you've gotten. You've worked for it. You respect it because you worked for it. Things that are given aren't respected. It's why the projects are all gone, all torn down, because when you give something to someone, they don't respect it, they don't take care of it, it falls apart, and indeed they all had to be condemned and ripped down.
You were right on. And at the end of the day, it is a problem that we do have. Also on top of that, it does give you that ability to take ownership over somebody that you keep giving something to. You're going to do what I want to do, or I'm not going to give you this anymore.
Oh, that's absolutely right. Our welfare state is indeed that, right? That's why it's supposed to be a state thing. And even better, it's supposed to be charity, because the charity knows who is unable versus those who are unwilling. And if, yes, you're taking things from me, I have a say in what you can use it for. The SNAP program we're dealing with now, right?
Yep.
No, you cannot buy junk food for your kids and feed them only junk food,
Yeah.
because we're then going to have to what? Pay on the Medicaid side 100 times more because the kids are unhealthy. If you're taking from me, I have a say what you can do with what you're taking from me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I know we kind of went down another rabbit hole, but I want to dig back into the UFO because we kind of just barely hit on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what is your thought? You said that you've seen evidence on both sides, right? What evidence do you find compelling on either side, whether they exist or don't exist?
Well, let's look at the Project Blue Book,
Okay.
right? Was it Hynek, right? Uh, Even at the end, when they were winding down that project, they were trying to find excuses to explain away anything and everything more. But even at the end, when the project was closed down, there's still a category of unexplained. Even if 1%, even if 0.01% of all the supposed sightings are indeed something other than, doesn't mean we can't explain it later, right? We understand what ball lightning is. That still doesn't explain away the Foo Fighters during World War II. Those are still all unexplained. Is it natural phenomena? Possibly, maybe not. That's again why I'm kind of on the fence, right?
Yeah.
But if a small percentage is unexplained, that's still a BFD to use Biden's terms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't explain it, but I don't believe they're a threat. If they're that smart that they can build interdimensional or interstellar or intertimental craft, if they wanted to wipe us out, they'd have done it already. If they're that smart to be able to build those things and have the energy to do those things, they have the military brains to say, you don't let your enemy grow and get more powerful.
Right.
They would have wiped us out long ago before we've gotten to this technological state.
Yeah. And I've never heard a story where somebody said my house was lasered and blown up or this building was taken out. It's always, abducted and returned or witnessed with nothing
Mostly, right.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I have one part that makes me do kind of question, right? And it kind of ties in with conspiracy theory type stuff as well. But if we have traveled outside the United States or outside of Earth, right? If we have gone to the moon, if we have actually sent satellites orbiting Earth and everything else, why hasn't anything else been seen? And my answer to that is because we're thinking of it as they're coming from outer space. But if they are dimensional, well, you left where they were at. They were down here, and you just can't see them over frequencies,
Well, we've not gone outside our own galaxy.
Right.
So,
correct.
If they're coming from other galaxies, of course we've not. One of my favorite movies, though, is Star Trek, the original series crew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Voyager, V'ger. You remember? Oh, what a great movie indeed, But let's back up and define UFO or UAP or USO. Unidentified flying object.
Yep.
I live near the airport. I look up in the sky, I see something streaking across. That's unidentified.
Yeah.
I can easily explain, well, it's likely a plane coming in or out, but unless if I've got a monocular powerful enough to look in the sky and see it's actually a human-made aircraft with United or what ever Delta markings on it, it's unidentified. That
Right.
doesn't mean unexplainable.
Right.
What we're talking here are indeed the unexplainables.
Yep.
And indeed, you kind of alluded to something. One of the reasons to not believe is, well, of course, our government wants UFO phenomenon to be a thing because it hides our secret aircrafts, right?
Yeah.
Right? They want fake sightings because we're hiding black budget military projects behind it. So
Yeah.
some of the UFOs is that, but some, even again, if it's 0.001%, it's an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our government does things like that all the time, not necessarily for any kind of conspiracy theory, right? Even our military. I served in Bosnia for a year, and we worked hand in hand in the same province areas with Russians and other forces, and I couldn't tell you what their mission was, and it's siloed like that for a reason because they don't necessarily want, it's not about it's some secret that I don't need to know. It's the fact that I don't need to lose focus on my mission to worry about somebody else's mission, right? And so a lot of our programs are just set up, period, to be siloed like that because of simpler reasons, not just all these conspiracy theories. Now, do I believe that there's a deep state? 100%, absolutely. There is, some unseen powers, and we do have technology that, if it fell into the wrong hands, it would be used against us, and we would have some serious issues. So yes, some things need to be secretive, and there's measures to be done that way. And 100%, I do agree that there's probably a lot of UFO sightings that was just that. It was a new test flight, new
we
program.
know, going back to the B-1, the B-2, the stealth fighter coming out of Area 51 that were misidentified as potentially alien that were indeed ours. But again, myth usually isn't just pure fiction. It's based on something. It came out of something. So, but what degree of that is reality then? And because I went out to Area 51 one time, of course, didn't see anything or anything like that, but it was cool to make the trip. And again, if they really, really, really meant us harm, like they want to take over the earth, they'd have done it already. I mean, so, but again, the information Reagan had at the UN speech, imagine if there were an external threat, how quick we'd be all to put our differences aside, to come together as a planet to fight that threat. And that is in part why they want that notion of a conspiracy to remain. Most governments want that potential threat, even though it's probably not realistic. I forgot where I was going with that too, but
well, you are right. 9/11 is a prime example of that. You walk through the streets of New York and say hi to somebody, and they're going to flip you off like, who the hell are you talking to? And after 9/11, man, New York became united, like one of the most united states.
Time.
Yeah, for a short time. And so trauma does bring people together. That's just been proven. You see it in smaller families when, families that have disputes between themselves, a major accident or somebody dying from illness or whatever, for a short period of time will bring that family united, and they'll drop their beefs and till after the passing and everything else, and then they're back to doing their normal thing. But So I mean that makes perfect sense. Yeah, it would absolutely unite the
Yeah, well,
planet.
Werner von Braun, the mastermind, the former Nazi, come here through Operation Paperclip so that the Soviets wouldn't have all that. That, kills me. Oh, the United States is the modern Nazis. Look at all the Nazis. Duh. Did you want Russia to have all that brain power? I mean,
Yeah.
come on. Use your brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, Werner von Braun, and I go into it to a degree in is E.T. really here a really short story? And I got to say this before. This is a really short book. It's a short story. That's why it's only 99 cents. And there's even other bonus material. And I've got it. It's a really weird story based on a really weird dream. And even the writing in it is really weirdly done. So don't judge the other books based on this one. This
Right.
was written for the people who don't want the 99.9% of all average books type writing style and general rehash stories. But yeah, Werner von Braun even said at one time, U.S. and other nations will use the UFO phenomena as a false flag to rally their nation. So, if he had any inkling of real ETs or not, he knew our own human nature, especially from the government, the Nazis of which they had, who used everything as propaganda and were rumored to have had ETs helping them develop things, and supposedly, right, the same ETs that were helping the Nazis helping us. But again, would you rather Russia, the communists, have all that?
Yeah, because look where it'd be now. Now China would have it as well, because Russia is that prime example. As long as you keep taking things from me, I own you, and that's exactly what's happening between China and Russia. They're going to do whatever China says because that is their source right now for survival. And so, yeah, I agree. Well, Joseph, I'm going to bring you forward, man, and let you tell everybody where they can find you and where they can get these books and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, well, the name we didn't get into, Joseph. Where'd you go?
No, I brought you forward so everybody can
okay.
see you.
That's what you meant. Okay. I thought we had another technical difficulty and I lost you again. Joseph M. Leonard. It looks French. It's not Leonard. It's Leonard without an O. And Joseph M. Leonard, because there is a Joseph Leonard who is also a Christian author out of South Carolina. So I have to make that distinction. And you can go to either Terror Strike, again, the reverse screen thing, Terror Strikes book, terrorstrikes.info. There's a site, or josephmleonard.us. That's my author site. You can go to either of those, and I'm on 15 plus social media platforms as at J. Leonard Detroit.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely, man.
And of course, Amazon and, Barnes and Noble and all.
Yep.
Yada, yada.
If you go to Amazon, because that's how I found a lot of your other books use as pictures.
Hey, 80% of all books. I'm sure that number's probably higher than that now. Since the 90s, we've been saying 80% of all books are sold through Amazon. You gotta be there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, brother, I hope everybody got something out of this and learned, had a little bit of fun as well, putting some imagination to whether UFOs are real or not. And it's always a fun topic, and I love talking history and and everything
Yeah.
else too.
I mean, one of the biggest things about all of that is USOs. Remember the old, based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I forget oh, the star something uh, there was a submarine that separated from its body and could fly out of the water. Do you remember the show I'm talking about from the
Yes.
70s?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We don't have that technology still today, but yet we've got videos of things going in and out of the water seamlessly, not slowing down, just bam, no splash. If that isn't anti-gravity, which we don't got, I don't know what is. That's beyond us. So it's coming from somewhere. It ain't us. That's the part that makes me believe that, it's real, but yet at the same time, there's several movies like Childhood Lost, great sci-fi movie about, unless if they're, or like the old Roland Emmerich is one of my favorite directors. He's the mastermind behind Stargate. Great.
Yep.
My favorite TV series, Stargate SG-1. And Independence Day series, right? Until they're parked over all our cities and we're all seeing it live for ourselves, there's always going to be the doubt until that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I know I did. And I want all of y'all to have a great day. Don't forget, don't let the day kick your ass. Kick the day's ass.